Inside Foos presents FoosTalk Live.
Is the tournament over yet? Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. It did take about 25 hours for me to get back home.
Jim, Tom, I'm actually still here in Kentucky. Just so you know, I'm still reporting. There's nobody there. It's like a weird shining vibe, but it's okay. We'll get through this.
It's FoosTalk Live.
You talking to me?
Compelling and lively banter.
Are you going to talk to us?
Talking foosball.
Foosball was how I measured my value as a man. You took that away.
Players and fans, promoters and pros. Unedited and raw.
Talk.
Living in the moment.
We have a lot of important things to talk about.
All while practicing social distancing.
Cool. We'll talk. No big whoop.
Let's get this thing started. FoosTalk Live. Coming to you live from the studios of Inside Foos, it's the 78th episode of FoosTalk Live, brought to you by InsideFoos.com, offering monthly subscriptions with access to some of the most exciting matches ever recorded, plus live tournaments, pre- and post-show analysis, interviews, and original programming. Sign up now at InsideFoos.com. Also brought to you by ProtectoFlex, the world's premier foosball safety accessory. Go to Protecto-Flex.com. Brought to you by Rodlock. Practice more, reach less. The best practice tool in foosball. Visit rod-lock.com. Brought to you by 518 Prints, one of the best printers of promotional items and foosball apparel. Visit 518prints.com. And brought to you by Foosballers the Movie. This Joe Hestlinger foosball documentary now available as a worldwide download at foosballersthemovie.com. And brought to you by the USTSO, helping to usher in a new competitive foosball era. Become a member at usafoosball.com. And yes, brought to you by Foosball Clubs USA, promoting foosball through school systems all over the United States. Make a donation today at foosballclubsusa.com. Well, hey there, it's Tom Robinson, episode number 78. As we step into a full weekend of October, looking forward to having lots of fun this evening, talking about foosball, as we always do. But of course, you know, the best way to talk about foosball is with another person who happens to know all about this sport. How about the greatest foosball play-by-play announcer of all time, Jim Stevens? Welcome, Jim.
You give me way too much credit there, Tom Robinson. I don't know that I know all about it. You know, I feel like I'm always learning something new when it comes to foosball, whether it's from history or whether it's how to play the game or whatever. So yeah. I don't know it all, but we've been around long enough to know a little something.
I think you know enough. Let's put it that way. You know, enough to be dangerous. Would that be a kind way to put it?
Yeah, no, that would be. And in fact, I've been playing a little more here locally. My wife and I, of course, play here at home. The kids are playing as well. We've gotten out a couple times to the Garage, which is the name of a large pool hall here in Durango.
The Garage.
Gotten out a few times. Yep, the Garage.
Oh, okay.
To get out and play a little bit. We had some guests come in from the Front Range over Denver area, or actually the Leadville, the highest town in America, by the way, about 10,000 feet.
What?
And they came in to Faye Rettazzini. And Austin Watrous came in and we played a little with them the other night. So I've been playing a little bit more and really enjoying it, having some fun.
Very nice. Yeah, no, it's good to stay practiced. I know that you and I briefly got a chance to play when we went to the Lexington, Kentucky Tornado Championships, and you've got that pretty mean push kick there. Yeah. Pretty
that's what they say. I just shut my eyes and hope is what happens. But, people ask me, they say, Jim, do you get a chance to play? And I had to think about it this year.
Right.
Because oftentimes I will play an event here and there, maybe a senior event or a DYP or whatever. And I was thinking about it. I don't think I've played a single event this year, although I have no memory of the Florida event this year.
Right.
But I don't know whether I played there or not. But for the most part, no, I haven't. It's usually us hopping down onto table 2 or table 1 and knocking it around as we did at the Tornado Championships. And speaking of knocking it around, we've got some big action coming up in the next few weeks.
Yes.
With state championships, we've got next weekend already, right? The October 13th through 17th. It's the $35,000 Louisiana State Championships down in beautiful New Orleans.
Oh.
And New Orleans is great. Obviously the foosball action is great, but the food down there, of course, is probably second to none. The atmosphere
and the
going
music
down to Bourbon Street. Yeah, the music, the jazz, every kind of music. And there's such a mix of people down there, right? For so many different cultures. So everybody looking forward to that one. And then the week after that, there's actually 2 events. One up in Michigan run by Michael Stahl
Yep.
The Michigan State Championships. We talked to Michael last week about that. That's going to be exciting. And also, our good friend Brad Lorene and company are running the Northwest Open up in Portland, Oregon.
Read about that
same weekend.
That looks really cool. That'll be fun. Is that Brad's first event, or has he done this kind of thing before?
No, Brad has done pretty much everything for a long time.
Yeah.
And so he has done it. He's got some help on this one. David Kala and his software, and a few other the veteran local Northwest players up there as well. Of course, Brad Lorene, the man behind the Rod Locks as well, and that's of course a sponsor of our show, sponsor of Inside Foods, and a sponsor of this event as well.
Yep,
and then November 11th through 14th, Colorado State Championships. $30,000 this year. I was talking to Tommy and Sherry Chapman, the promoters of this event, last week, and Inside Foods will be there to cover it.
Nice.
But they're going to have 70 tables at this event.
70.
They're anticipating. They're talking 500 or 600 players.
Wow.
That may be a little high, but maybe not. Who knows the way things are going these days? But that's November 11th through 14th at the DoubleTree in Thornton, just north of Denver. And that's TSK Promotions running that one. That's going to be a lot of fun. That's always one of the best tour stops of the year.
Yeah, I was going to say Colorado has that reputation of being in the top 3 tournaments of the year.
Yeah, I think so. It's run very well. There's such a tradition and such history in that neck of the woods, and it's always recognized with the Colorado Hall of Fame ceremony each and every year, where they induct legendary players, promoters, et cetera, from the Rocky Mountain State. And of course, it holds a special place in my heart. Although I still consider myself a Californian, I've lived here now for 12 years, so I'm definitely a Coloradoan as well. And so it's very close to my heart, and looking forward to being there to cover that one once again.
No doubt. Looking forward to that. Well, there's been so much happening in the last 6 months now with competition back in action. And we've been so fortunate in so many ways to bring on some new folks, hearing some new voices, especially with Inside Foos. Not the least of which is a guy who's been joining us on a regular basis now for FoosTalk Live, all the way from Ventura, California. Understand he can put together a mean egg roll. His name is Adam Gilson. Hello, Adam.
Ventura Highway in the sunshine. I've turned into Mark Torres.
Are you doing the Mark Torres routine?
I'm doing Mark Torres.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
He's not
and also, Tom, Adam and I know how much you love the band America. And so, Adam, don't we always? We try to bring a little America to Tom.
You guys know how to hurt a guy. You really do.
Hi, my name's Adam. I don't know if you wanted me to join, or are you just talking? Anyways, it's a pleasure to be here as always. And I like sticking it to Tom every time we get a chance to bring up America, because I don't understand why he hates that. Well, I don't understand why he hates this country, is really what that comes down to.
Hang on. Hold on a second.
Wait a minute. You said you hate America.
Wow.
You did say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me clarify.
Yeah, it's a 1-to-1.
It's
math.
There's hate. Yes, that's one thing. But then there's also the fact of the matter is that for, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 or 4,000 times of hearing the same song again and again and again, one does tire of it. And it's I think it's legit to say, if I ever hear it again, I'll kill myself. But
the problem is you have never been through the desert on a horse with no name.
Yeah.
That's the big problem. Once you do that, you're so.
And you've never had a sister with golden hair. So
true that. True that.
And I have a sister with golden hair.
Wow. God. Okay. Well, either way, it's a pleasure to be here as always. And you guys said a bunch of stuff, and I was following along, and I took notes, but then I lost my notes. So
okay.
I will tell you though, I still think the In-N-Out burger is the best fast food burger. That's all I have to say.
What?
Okay.
I agree.
Yep.
I'm with you.
And it's not a California thing.
I will not take your bait.
There it is. There he is. I knew you were going to come out. Fishy.
Clay Toomey. Now, Clay is of late has been gracing our airwaves as really extraordinary interviews that he's conducting with foosball players of all stripes, including Adam Gilson, I should say, coming up this Tuesday with Shooting the Shot and Clay Toomey. We have to put a disclaimer on this one, but anyway.
Yeah, the disclaimer is that In-N-Out has the worst French fries in all of fast food.
Hey, don't stomp on my pain, man.
Okay.
It's In-N-Out.
Just so you know.
Don't yuck his yum.
But their
Clay.
fries
Don't
are
yuck my
trash.
yum.
That's why they call it In-N-Out, because you eat their fries, they go in, and then you throw them up because they suck. They go in, and they come right back out.
Stop.
Dude,
have
that's
the
what a
worst
hamburger is
fries.
all about.
Man,
Jim, you're on right now.
But really, let's move past the burgers and talk a little bit about Shooting the Shot, which has just been it's sensational. It is different, I think, than anything that has been done before. I mean, certainly, Clay, you always have been more of a conversationalist than an interviewer, and that certainly is proving true here because you have drawn so much out of your interviewees, out of the folks you're having conversations with. And kudos to you for just really doing a masterful job.
Oh, it's great.
Really
Really
good.
good.
Yeah,
Really
the pleasure's
enjoyed it.
mine. I mean, foosball is full of interesting people. People get lost in the game itself and forget that there's humans that are holding the rods, and they're just fascinating. So it's easy, frankly, to just sit and chat with them because they're just so damn fascinating in my
Right.
opinion. So
Yeah, some great
yeah,
stories.
it's a lot of
really
fun.
good stories. And sometimes you just never know what's going to come out of our mouth.
Yep.
Right.
That's,
Well, you know,
that's a
and
true story.
and to that point, the trigger warning thing, because Clay interviewed me when we were at Worlds, and I knew we were going to be talking about foosball, but I know how good Clay is at just being like a good place to just chat. And it went into the kind of the darker places of where I was back in my touring days in the early 2000s. Mental health issues and suicidal things and stuff like that came up, and it was intense. But I'm glad that we got to talk about it because I'm a huge proponent of mental health and taking care of yourself, as is Clay. So it was a difficult episode. It was a difficult thing to do, but it was also felt good to do. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah, looking forward to that as well. And that's Tuesday. Tuesday we're releasing. What is this? The fourth release?
Fourth episode.
Fourth.
Fourth episode of
shooting the shot. And we have to be careful every time we say that. But but really looking forward to it. So keep up the good work, Clay, and thanks, man.
Yeah,
thank you.
Really appreciate it. And all this talk about Frank talk really makes me thirsty, I got to tell you.
What Jim and I like to do right about this time is to reveal our favorite IPA.
And so, what is in your sweaty palm, Mr. Jim Stevens?
Well, and I don't even remember what I did last week, and I'm hoping it's not the same beer because last week I had some friends come in from San Diego and brought me some beer from the Alpine Brewing Company. And if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. But it's the Nelson, it's the Nelson IPA out of Alpine Brewing Company, which is, 60 or 70 miles east of San Diego. And of course, I know we talked about in the past, really San Diego, the mecca of IPAs. It's really kind of where it all started in San Diego. And so even if I'm having it for the second straight week, it's because they brought me 12 of them, and I'm really enjoying them. So it's the Alpine IPA, perhaps once again, as we're enjoying another outstanding IPA. And one thing I didn't know about it, when you go to the Beer Advocate online, it is the number 2 rated beer in all of America.
Really?
As far as IPAs go. Yep, ranked number 2.
What is the website?
That's pardon me?
What is the website? Where do you go to find that out?
Beer Advocate. Yeah, the Beer
Advocate. Okay.
Beeradvocate.com. And it is it's ranked number 2 and for good reason. It just has such a good, strong it's kind of a golden rye IPA is what it is. An outstanding hop from New Zealand, the Nelson Sauvin is generously used throughout the brewing, and dry hopping of this unique beer, European rye, is added for a smooth, malty addition to flavor. And it really, rye can be a little overbearing, but in this case, it's used beautifully and subtly, and I'm really enjoying it.
Man, I think you just sold the whole company right there. That was awesome. Well, Adam, what are you partaking of?
Well, you were saying earlier that I've been actually, I think Jim was saying that I've been kind of getting more involved and immersed in this IPA thing.
Jim and I like
but I'm still not. I'm still not above just buying something based on the way the can looks.
Right.
So So I bought this really cool. It's a Seattle brewery, Fremont Brewery, Disco Wolf. It's a hazy double IPA.
Ooh.
Oh boy.
And I got to tell you, I've had it sitting for about 5 minutes in my chilled glass. This is delicious. It's really a little bit hoppy, but it's this really nice citrusy grapefruit forward flavor. And if anything, it almost harkens back to an ale, but it's not. It's riding this really interesting line. So I don't know. I've never had anything like it, but it's really, really quite good.
What's the alcohol on that? The ABV?
It is. I can't even. Everything's fuzzy. I see nothing. Ooh, 8.5%.
8.5.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
On the low end for a double, but still significant. Yeah.
Are you calling me a wuss? What? Anyways, it tastes good.
That's all that matters. How about you, Tom?
Okay. Well, I thought I would do a collaborative tonight. In fact, this is a collaboration with Firestone Walker Brewing Company. And,
how about that?
Yeah, they collaborated with Omegang out of Cooperstown, New York. So Firestone Walker pays tribute to Brewery Omegang, which is one of my favorite local breweries. But they did something called Neon Giants. And it says it's astronomically hazy. Brewed with New Zealand hops.
Much like the Milky Way.
Yes, indeed. And it is a collaboration with our stellar friends of Firestone Walker Tropical.
And you know where Firestone Walker is located. It's right up the 101 from Mr. Adam Gilson.
Yes.
Yep.
San
Been
Diego,
there.
correct? Yep. Good stuff. But let's pop the top here. I've never had it. Let's try it.
Let's try it.
One
of these days, we're not going to like one of these beers. Someday, we're not going to like them. I'm sure of it.
Let's see here. Nope. Sorry. That's another good one.
I didn't like
that
those white
IPA
walls.
is a good beer.
Oh,
I didn't like that white walls.
No, that's true. You didn't. It was that the wheat
was
IPA,
gross.
and I don't blame you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gross.
So our honor group of the week, we have to. Well, Clay, are you still with us, or are you hanging back?
Yeah. No, I'm here.
Okay. What do you have to drink this evening?
I'm having a pumpkin spice latte. This is the Starbucks signature espresso with steamed milk and celebrated flavor combination of pumpkin, cinnamon, nutmeg, and clove.
Oh.
Are you wearing Uggs?
Say it again.
Are you wearing Uggs?
Uggs?
I am wearing, on one foot I have an Ugg, a single Ugg, and then on the other foot I have a Croc.
A Croc,
They all
yes.
could be California girls.
Yes.
Crocs
And you-
and
yeah.
Uggs. Oh,
All right.
man.
So cheers.
Look
Good
out.
job, buddy.
Yes,
Cheers to you as well.
And
Cheers to you as well.
here's to our honor group of the week. The honor group of the week is actually relatively new to the scene. This is Rock City Foosball. Rock City is
Nice.
actually from Rochester, New York.
Oh.
Scott Sweeting and the gang have formed Rock City Foosball, and we wish them the best of luck. Another great organization within the state of New York. So I'm biased. but,
Interesting.
you know.
Rock City, it reminds me of a location that I played at in 1978 through 1980, located up on Hollywood Boulevard, right next to Grauman's Chinese Theater, a place called Rock City. They had 8 tables in there. It was spectacular. It was an amazing thing until it crashed and burned.
Oh, crashed and
But
burned.
it was a lot of fun.
Like burned down.
You know
to
what
the
else is
ground?
going to be a lot of fun is we have tonight on the show as our special guest, a guy who is coming off truly one of the most historic performances in the history of foosball, unexpectedly to some degree, right? Nothing's unexpected when it comes to this guy because he's truly one of the tremendous talents to ever play. But to come out and do what he did, of course, we're talking about Ryan Moore.
Yeah.
And what he did at the Tornado Worlds this year, winning singles, winning doubles, winning mixed doubles, after really not playing much for a couple of years and really not necessarily being all that interested in foosball, or at least the playing side of it for a number of years. And understandably, he was raising 2 young children, relocating to, I think, Tulsa, Oklahoma area, et cetera. But to come out and do what he did, and we're going to talk to him about it tonight here on the show,
Just amazing.
was truly remarkable.
Would I be understating the case to say that if you're not there in person necessarily to see Ryan and his quadruple performance of the weekend,
Yeah, that's true.
If you were not there to actually see it, it's hard to appreciate.
It is, although you can see it, of course, at
Of
InsideFoos.com.
course.
We've got all of it. But yeah, Brian also won designated mixed as well. So an incredible performance from an incredible player. So looking forward to that here tonight on FoosTalk Live.
I think it's more than necessary for us to flash back to that moment.
With great moments in foosball history, this is a FoosTalk Live Flashback.
Blake. Come down the middle, blocked by Moreland. Again, Robertson sets, fires, and that's off the man, and in it is world championship point for Blake Robertson and Ryan Moore.
Look at how much fun he's having. That's a scary Blake. Having fun, Blake.
Taken away here by Blake. Can't connect on the pass. And we're going to get a call. I'm not sure Tommy completely agrees. They're going to award it to Blake Robertson, who has a chance to win it.
He trusts Terry.
Yeah. For the 2021 championship. That one blocked on the first effort by Moore. Again, Blake Robertson. Goes it home, and there it is.
Jackson, Mississippi's first world championship open doubles.
You gotta love it in honor of his great friend Daniel Coulter. Blake Robertson closes the deal with authority as Blake Robertson and Ryan Moore add the 2019 multi-table at the 2021 Tornado Championship to their resume. Wow.
Great stuff.
Listen in next time for another great moment in foosball history. It's FoosTalk Live.
Was that Mark Torres giving commentary there? Was he?
Yeah.
Doing the golf call.
Yeah, up close to the
microphone. I was there too, but I wasn't. It was just.
I heard you.
It was just.
You
no,
said wow.
All I said was wow, because what else are you gonna say?
Yeah, right.
That's about it.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I was going to ask Mark if Mark was on the show tonight. He was just sort of sitting behind Adam and I, and just sort of, oh yeah, look at that.
It was.
Yeah,
it was like
he trusts Terry. Yeah. It was kind of interesting.
Interesting is like having a stalker sitting behind you watching.
It was a lot like that.
Yeah. It was uncomfortable. He was using. Hey Maggie, what are you doing later? That kind of thing. I was like, all right, who's Maggie?
Oh no!
Keep calling me Maggie.
No, but again, what they accomplished, Blake Robertson, Ryan Moore, after winning in 2019 in Murcia, Spain. The multi-table doubles world championship, to come back and do what they did this year and do it in such fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Ryan Moore, in my opinion, the best goalie in the world, period, when he's back there doing it. If he was to play back there full time, he would unequivocally, in my mind, be the best goalie in the world. No question about it. Maybe one of the best goalies we've ever seen. And then to have Blake just play at such a high level so consistently. And I'm going to talk a little more about Blake a little later on, but what a great performance and what a great weekend for Ryan Moore.
I think the most extraordinary thing to see that live, of course, was amazing. But to watch what was happening in the prior match, of course, Tommy York Jr. Was tearing it up in the prior match. It'd be before they made it to the finals, and all of a sudden it just switched. Like Tommy's energy and something happened. I think, Ryan just got under his skin or something. I'll have to talk to Ryan about it. But
you know what it was, in my opinion, and obviously I think it was the previous two matches that Brandon Moreland basically shut down the opposing forwards in those two previous matches. Tommy York doing his thing, but it was Brandon Moreland just completely taking the forwards out of their game.
Sure.
And then he came up against Blake Robertson and just couldn't quite handle Blake's quickness and level of play.
Right, and I think that was the whole thing. The game plan that I was watching those two matches before Blake was going to play them, that match, I was like, Blake's greatest strength is that being able to read the quick shot, and if he can counteract Moreland's ability to create a defensive picture, then that's going to be what's going to be the key. And he did. I mean, it was a great performance.
It was stunning. In fact, it was just amazing to see how quickly he was able to pick him apart. And just make him look like, okay, he's got to start over again and figure this thing out.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll talk about this later as well. But I mean, how much confidence does it give you to have Ryan Moore back there? And Ryan wasn't really even shooting the ball, didn't need to. He was feeding his partner. But Ryan, again, so underrated as a defensive player. Again, I say he's the best goalie in the world, not just because he can score 2 or 3 a game, but also because he can, on a regular basis, pretty much shut anybody down.
Sure. Yep, that was. And I have an observation I want to talk to him about, but it would just because as a goalie, I was watching very intently as to what he was doing, and it just astounded me. I never would have thought of his technique. I just never would have thought of it. But
super high end, super high end stuff, and a lot of that he got from his former partner Bob Diaz, of course. One of the great defensive players to ever play the game.
Right, very cool. Well, guys, I think we're gonna have some fun tonight, no doubt. Ryan Moore coming up very, very soon. But I think Adam, we have to give you credit because you came up with this week's top 5, the topic, and it's unusual. I have to say, it's kind of like we have to gaze into the crystal ball to make this happen. But so, Adam, since you came up with this idea, you described for me what is this week's top 5?
Well, we're just looking. So we're starting the final quarter of the foosball season, and it's winding down. Obviously, we have a few state tournaments coming, and then it's pretty much going to be a break until Moneyball maybe, and if that happens, and So I know that we have, it starts up again in February, March of next year. So I'm just curious, based on what we have seen so far this year going into the final stretch, the players, the events that are going to be happening. And the caveat to this is that we don't know, at least I don't know who's playing. So all of this is speculation of who's playing in the last tournaments. But it's still, my question is, if they are playing, if some of these bigger names are playing, what is it they're going to be doing? What is it they're going to be able to do? And more importantly, the competition, reaches apex at Worlds. Obviously, Colorado State's going to have quite a bunch of good players as well, but Worlds is like it, right? So I'll be curious to see, Jim, what you come up with as far as just competition and everything that's coming on in this last quarter.
Yeah, I kind of took it that way, but I'm kind of going to branch out. I'm going to come at it from a few different angles, as we look into the future, so to speak. And I do have actually a crystal ball sitting in front of me here, which
Oh,
has proven over the years to be about 75% accurate. The
wow.
stories about
Ooh.
crystal balls actually being 100% are just simply, in my experience, not true. And so I am going to look into the future a little bit here, but I also just have some questions. We don't really know what's going to happen, so we kind of have to sort of question and say, will this happen? So maybe my take on this, my angle on this, is going to be a little different, and that's really what makes these top five so great. Is that we do come at it from several different angles and kind of just encourage a conversation, interaction about these topics. So
It sounds like you might be ready. Would you be ready?
I think so.
All right, let's do
Yep.
this.
Time once again for the FoosTalk Live Top 5.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here's Jim Stevens and Mark Torres.
And the part of Mark Torres being played by Adam Gilson. Got to change this this promo.
I don't think you're ever going to change that. Just-
You need to change it, because then when Mark comes on, he'll be playing the part
Right.
of
Mark
Mark Gilson.
Yeah. Anywho, number 5. So I've just got my eye on the turnouts coming up the rest of this year, and one of the ones that's really interesting to me is the one that's been thrown together kind of last minute by our good friend Brad Levine at the Portland tournament in Portland, Oregon. Yeah. And my question, what I want to know, is that player base is one of my favorite player bases, and it just feels like it's been waiting for years now to just burst out onto the scene, onto the whole circuit, the United States circuit, but it's always been very contained there. And I'm just wondering if they start getting bigger turnouts to their local events, because they have Moneyball and they have the Hall of Legends, but it's not always the biggest of tournaments. I'm just wondering, this is a $5,000, and I'm just curious if for given just a month's notice or so, if they get a decent enough turnout, then it's going to tell me that fuse is primed for next year.
So should we make this official?
What?
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number.
There you go. Continue, Adam. Please continue.
What happened? Did I just do it?
Yeah. Well, no.
Did I miss my cue?
No, you didn't miss your cue. I was just messing with you. But no, you started into your top 5, number 5, but we hadn't heard the sounder. You know how that goes.
Oh, I thought that.
Let's do this over. Can we go back and erase that and start over on it?
I'll reverse it. Yep. Yeah.
So okay, here's the sounder. All right.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number.
Go, Adam, go!
I'm really curious what the food's going to be like at the Portland State tournament.
The food? That's the story?
What? Yeah, no. So the Portland turnout is, to me, that's going to be a huge thing. I'm just really excited to see how that turnout is, because I don't even know for this last minute event that they're putting together, a player base that's just primed and ready to go on the big scene. If they can pull something together locally at this stage with about a month's notice, that's going to be exciting. Oh, yeah. So I'm really excited to see what it is that they end up doing.
So that's your number 5.
Yeah.
I love it. Jim?
That's my number 5 twice.
Jim?
Is it the high alcohol content of this beer that's made my brain?
I don't know.
Slow? Okay.
Jim, have we lost you?
Jim had enough of my missteps.
I think he's actually, you're going to have to embellish upon what you just said, because I think Jim has to reset. But so
a third time?
Yeah, let's hear it again. No,
I feel like Brad Loreen, because Brad Loreen once had 3 technicals called on him before his forward even had the ball. And there was 3-0 before his forward had even served the ball. So now I've had to respect. Oh, there's Jim. Hey, Jim.
Jim, you back?
That was weird, dude. Suddenly there was
just disappeared again.
Nope. Everything's fine. I could tell it a 4th time if you want, Tom.
Well, no, I think I got the gist of it, and thank you for that, Adam. Did I lose you again?
Nope, you're here.
No,
You're here.
what you gained
Okay, there
was
we are. I'm
yeah.
hearing noises. Oh, that's what we just gained something.
That's
I did
talking.
see something. We just said something. No, and I kind of get the gist of it. And yes, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of food they do have up there. No, that's part of it, and that's my number 5 as well. Can the big turnouts continue? I mean, we've set records this year at Texas State, at nationals. The beat down was huge. Fully sold out. For their 80 players plus in a matter of hours. The huge turnout. Worlds, of course, record-setting worlds, or at least the biggest in 15 years or so. Can this continue? Will Michigan get a great turnout? Louisiana happening next week, who usually does pretty well. And then Colorado State, where they're predicting 500 or 600. By the way, and let me rub the crystal ball real quick. Adam, there will be 88 players in Portland for that event. Okay.
No.
88.
Yeah, I think so. I think
Wow.
it's a $5,000. It's going to be primarily regionally attended, and not a lot of national turnout. And I don't think they're counting on that. I love the idea of having regional tournaments supported by a regional place, not
Right.
counting on having a national turnout. I think that's really important. I think it's something we got away from 15 or 20 years ago, where everyone tried to be a national event, tried to draw a national crowd, kind of because you had to, because we weren't growing the player base, so we still had to cut up that same piece of pie and bring those players into our regional event. But I love the idea of finding ways to grow the sport and then running regional events, not counting on national turnout. Now, obviously, Louisiana State counts on a national turnout. Colorado State as well. These are big, major state championship events. Michigan, Upper Midwest, I think you'll be happy with that. In Portland for the Northwest Open, I think they'll be happy with 80 to 100 players. And I think that's pretty realistic to count on. But can we continue to develop players in a variety of ways? Club system still coming. I know we talk about it all the time. We're still coming once things begin to clear up and people are allowed to gather on a regular basis again, in a location or homes or whatever. But that's my number 5 is, can the big turnouts continue? We'll see. I predict probably that we're going to see some big turnouts here coming up at these events, and I hope so. But we'll see.
Yeah, we're bucking for you for sure.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number 4.
Well, Jim, in that your monologue you just did, you took 3 of my other top 5. So I'm going to make up something. I'm going to make up something on the spot here. I'm going to say, okay, here's one. How about this? So I think the breakout, and these two get kind of clumped together whenever we talk about them, and I don't know if that bothers them or not, but they kind of are like part of the same generational thing that's happening. But I would say that Kevin Romero and Brandon Munoz, they had a bit of a breakout tournament at nationals this year. They were in the top 4 in both open singles and open doubles. They were threatening at Texas State before that. And they obviously have been touring quite a bit when they can't tour. And I was watching their progress through Bordeaux and at Worlds, and I don't know if for them they underperformed. Maybe they think that. I'm not sure. Colorado State's going to be a great opportunity for them to reassert the way that they were going, the momentum that they had, and I think that's what they're going to do. And I'm just curious. This goes back to what I was saying earlier. I don't know what what tournaments are going to the rest of this year. I would assume Colorado State would be one of them. I don't know about the rest, but I'm just curious, like where those guys go. What are they going to do? Are they going to they have the great breakout tournament at nationals? What happens next? That's my number 4.
And I like that. And we did see such a rise early on, coming out of COVID, the first few events with those 2 players in particular. We're going to focus in on those 2 Costa Rican players, although Kevin now an American living in the greater Denver area. But, I think there is going to be a natural tendency to plateau. And whether that's because you just can't find it yourself, and speaking from the viewpoint of both Brandon and Kevin, whether you can't continue to do it or whether other players and other teams are making adjustments to what they've seen from you. It's a combination of things. We're human, right? And there is a human tendency to plateau, to go up in fits and starts to some degree. Quick rises, maybe a little drop or a plateau before you go up again. And I think maybe we're seeing a little of that because whether they underperformed, whatever it was, the results weren't there at the Tornado Championships in particular. But I do anticipate, based on what we've seen with these 2 guys, that we will continue to see that. My number 4, though, it's about school programs. It's about Foosball Clubs USA. It's about what John O'Brien's doing. And John is a busy man these days. I'll get into that a little bit here in a second. But can the school programs, as the schools are hopefully going to open up a little bit, although we'll wait and see what happens in these next few months, but can these after-school programs begin to thrive once again? Can we get back on track with Foosball Clubs USA? Because as we've talked about on this program, I know it's such an important thing to both of you guys, Mark Torres as well, the young players, the school programs, can they get back to some normalcy to where the kids can count on being able to play after school? And I know I've had some communication from John O'Brien here this week. So much going on with him. You know, he's the head of the ITSF Education Commission. He's now on the executive board of the ITSF while being on the Foosball Clubs, president and head of Foosball Clubs USA, working with USTSO. So many things going on with John O'Brien. But my question is, can we begin to develop that momentum that we had a year and a half ago or so with the kids programs, with Foosball Clubs USA, with these such important school programs? We talked about them last week with Daniel and Sandy Luaris and got a lot of insight there. But can we continue to do it? And I think it's up to all of us. You know, and again, that's part of the theme for me is all of us need to continue to pitch in and on several fronts. And we're isolating this one right now, but we all need to pitch in, continue to push the school programs. We need to continue to develop players. We need to give kids opportunities to compete, whether they can compete at other things or not. And if you haven't heard last week's show, please go download it to get more information about this. But for me, number 4, moving into this final quarter of the year, as school has gotten into full stride in many places, can we get back on track with Foosball Clubs USA and the school programs? I think we can. I think we will. I think we all need to pitch in and make sure it happens.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number 3.
So my number 3 is a parallel or an analog to my number 5. As much as I'm interested in the Portland turnout, I'm also really interested in the Michigan State turnout. I know that it's the first Michigan State, and what did Michael say last episode? Quite a few years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it had been a while. Yep.
Yeah, and to me that's so. Here's what we got. Right, this is what's happening. The pandemic happened. It was awful. People stay at home. There was so much desire, so much purpose to go out and start playing again. And we saw it in the turnouts and the energy at the tournaments this year. And then this event is happening, and the Portland event is happening, and it's seemingly these things aren't happening in vacuums. It's happening because the people that run these things, that are passionate and spill their blood for these things, are sensing a desire and a want again for them. And if we have a wave that starts right now that turns into and doesn't even crest next year, but just continues and creates and carves a new path in the geography of the shoreline that is foosball that we know it. Because Jim, you're right. It needs to be done at the regional level. That's really what it needs to be. Like, you can have the big tournaments that funnel everybody from at the national level, but having regional player bases, maybe the occasional big whale come in from other regions. That's great. And I think if Michigan State can get that momentum and carry it on to the next year and the next year and the next year, I think that's a great bellwether for where foosball is going post-COVID. That's my number 3.
Now, I love that. And I love that theme. And it's one I think that is so important to continue with that idea of having strong local programs, support strong state programs, support strong regional programs, and really count on those individual player bases to support those individual events. For me, number 3, I've looked back at the first 3 quarters of this year as some players that have excited me, that I've been interested in, obviously with Tony Sprademan. What can we predict moving forward? Pretty much the same thing we've seen now for more than a decade, just consistent, outstanding greatness. Ryan Moore, obviously what he did at the Worlds, but I don't know that Ryan really moving into this final quarter is going to play much. Maybe he'll play Colorado, who knows? But and then of course these young players we've talked about, and we'll talk more about that. But the one guy that I landed on, somebody that I really wanted to watch some more of, and a guy that has made such progress over the past year plus. I'm talking about Blake Robertson. It's not easy. How many players are in the Table Soccer Hall of Fame? Not a lot, right? Yeah, a small percentage of the players who have ever played the game are actually Hall of Famers. Blake Robertson has now moved into that class. And how difficult is it to go from being a pro to being a master to being an elite, all-time great Hall of Fame player? And that's what I think we've seen. We've seen Blake, first of all, who I make fun of. He makes fun of me for saying about him for so many years, Blake, a guy that's knocking at the door. Well, he busted down that door a couple of years ago. Now he has pushed his way through that envelope, through that balloon, the top of that balloon, into the rarefied air of being a future Hall of Fame player. And so, watching Blake, what he did, he took it to another level. Tornado Championships, he was out of his mind in a good way. He was doing it at a level that it has been really achieved by so few players over the years. And he now is, I believe, a future Hall of Fame player. When you win 3 world championships, 2 doubles world championships, a mixed doubles world championship, maybe he'll get a singles as well down the road. But I think, what that does for your confidence when you win these events, and a lot of it too, and this was something we kind of touched on in that flashback, but back about 2007, I was in Kentucky, and these 2 young kids were introduced to me by Mary Moore. She said, "Jim, these are 2 of the young players that are up and comers. They're out of the state of Mississippi. This is Daniel Coulter, and this is Blake Robertson." Right? These 2 guys were tied together forever. Well, Daniel Coulter passed away a few months ago, and Blake Robertson took that to heart. This was one of his great friends, a guy that he grew up with in the game. And you could see that it matured him. He was playing for Daniel at the Tornado Championships. He was not playing for himself. There was no pressure. He was performing outside of himself, right? And that's kind of what you have to do. You watch any great Hall of Fame athlete in any sport. There's not a lot of thought there, right? There's a lot of preparation, and then there's a certain degree of magic that takes place with these guys, right? It's you can't explain it, whether it's Michael Jordan, whether it's a great baseball or football player, or whatever. And that's kind of what we saw with Blake. Suddenly, he moved into the realm of magic, which seems to be a theme tonight with this crystal ball sitting in front of me. But Blake Robertson, for me, I want to see what he does next. Does he continue? He is going to continue. I have no doubt that he is going to continue to play at this top 3 in the world of Tornado Foosball. I think it's Tony. I think it's Ryan. I think it's Blake. That's your 3 best players on the American tour right now, and 3 certainly are the best players in the world overall. So for me, moving into this final quarter of the year here in 2021, I'm going to keep an eye on Blake Robertson.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number 2.
I'll tell you what I'm going to keep an eye on. I'm going to keep an eye on the slow march of progress that we all have in our games. Okay, some of us are great and get really good really fast, but some of us also are just a work in progress. Now, this lady is not exactly a work in progress. She's been great, but she's been dominating women's events for some time. But recently, she's starting to show up in the expert events, placing high, winning, I think, pro doubles, doing just amazing stuff, starting from nationals onward this year, actually Texas State onward this year. And my question is ceiling. Where's the ceiling for Sullivan Rue? I want to know where she can go. Wow. How high is she going to be placing in pro doubles, in pro singles? How high is she going to be doing in open events? I don't know. I don't know what else she's playing. And I know that she just started her first semester of college. That's life. Things are happening. But I know she's smart. She's focused. She's got the pedigree to do it if she wants to. So my question is, my number 2 is, where is Sullivan Rue's ceiling?
Yeah, that's my number 2 is focusing on the young players, and it's kind of a theme we've had over this past year. We've already talked about Kevin and Brandon. Sam DeJohn is in there as well, but I'm going to focus in on Sully as well, since you brought it up. To me, when I watch her play, I don't believe I've ever seen a more talented lady player. I don't think I have. I think she's taking it, as Tony did, as Ryan has done, as Billy Pappas did, as Fred did. I think she's taking it to a new level. She's setting a new height for that bar. I too am intrigued by what's going to happen, and I have no doubt what's going to happen. This young woman is going to continue her greatness. It's all there, right? All the ingredients are there. Yeah, she's going to college. She'll find a way to balance in foosball. There's no question about it. She wants that multi-table world championship next year. She wants that badly. Mark Torres has already predicted that she's going to get it. I kind of am too. I don't see, if she plays her game, nobody touches her on Tornado, right? But she's also good on all the other tables. And so after what has been an extraordinary year for her, where if she doesn't win singles or doubles, it's an upset, right? Moving into this final quarter of the year, I'm going to keep an eye on her as well, but I kind of know what I'm going to see. And I think you guys do too. I think we're going to see the continued excellence, the continued growth of Sullivan Rue. And what is that ceiling, Adam? That's a great question. How far can she take this? Yeah, she's winning expert events. Next up, she's going to be winning pro events. I don't have much doubt of that. And then what happens after that? She's going to be winning some open titles, I think, as well as a forward. Now, whether that means a major championship, I think beating Tony, Ryan, or Blake might be kind of difficult for her to do at a forward position, although she can certainly compete with them. But state championships, regional championships, I don't think it's at all out of the question. But again, Adam, I agree with you. What is the ceiling for Sullivan Rue?
FoosTalk Live proudly presents the top 5. Number 1.
So this plays off a little bit of what Jim was saying earlier. And to me, this is something that's near and dear to my heart. But I think it represents a sea change in how we're seeing foosball being learned, digested, and grown from for the newer generations of foosers. I'm looking at the junior turnouts at the tournaments that are coming up the rest of this year, primarily because it's school time. School is in session for a lot of people, more so than what was happening during the summer. And we're talking about the great stuff that the Foos Clubs USA has been doing. And we're talking about how we're kind of moving more towards the after-school program, foosball clubs format for growing the foosball player base. And we're also seeing this correlation of regional events, state events, kind of maybe coming back a little bit. And there's so many things, the synergy of what's actually happening now because the desire and the need post-COVID to come together again is huge to me. And it starts in the classroom, the after school programs. It starts with the kids and having their parents cart them around, not unlike they do with ASO and Little League. And it's incredibly huge and important to me to see what happens the rest of this year when school's in session. Are kids going to still keep coming out and play? Because if they do, that means they're getting the same amount of time and interest in foosball as they would have in some other extracurricular activity like soccer. And so to me, that's my number one. The turnout, the junior turnout, and where we're going for the synergy of that foosball clubs and regional events.
Yeah, and of course I talked about that a little bit as well, and that's super, super, super important. And again, all of us need to pitch in and help on that one. For me, there is a tendency for those of us here in the United States to be a little myopic. Okay. We are, so far, even tonight, we are focused so much on what's going on in this country that we have kind of forgotten a little bit about the fact that foosball is international. And the most important international tournament there is going to be happening next year. We hope, we think. And that's the 2022 ITSF World Cup and World Championships. It's the focal point of players in this country and in more than 40 countries around the world. And as we move into this last quarter, with still some qualifying to do, with still some big tournaments in this country, and of course in Europe as well, including the European Champions League coming up later in November, including Master Series events and Championship Series events all around Europe, all designed to qualify players and to increase their rankings as we move into 2022 and head towards the World Cup. There hasn't been a World Cup since 2019. It's going to be 3 years since the last World Cup. And if anybody who's ever attended this event, anybody who's ever watched it on Kazoom or on Inside Foos, realizes that this event is bigger than anything. This is it. This is the Olympics of table soccer. It is. And it also, as we move forward, as we begin that comes into focus. And right now, I actually found 2 more crystal balls, so I'm sitting here juggling 3 of them. And they're telling me that it's going to happen. And they're telling me that players this is going to be the primary focus moving forward. Yeah, we're going to focus on the Hall of Fame Classic next year in Vegas. And this year, I think after a 2-year absence, I think it's going to happen. Yes, we're going to be focusing on events around the world as we move towards qualifying. But all of it is going to be with this pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, the World Cup and the World Championships. For the World Championship event, the ITSF Multi-Table World Championships, the top 16 ranked players heading into that event all get their travel paid for. They qualify, they get buys in the event. They don't have to qualify in that morning round. It's huge, right? To get your trip paid for, to not have to qualify, to be into that elimination bracket, to be seeded. These are huge things. Top 8 women, I believe it is. Top 16 men, top 8 women in the ITSF rankings. So players are going to be trying to not only qualify for these events, but also to increase their rankings. moving forward in order to be a part of what is, again, the Olympics of foosball in July. I believe it's July of 2022 in Nantes, France, where they get 1,500, 2,000 people in the crowds cheering, roaring. It is a sporting event unlike any other, and it is certainly by far the biggest event in table soccer. So as we move into this final quarter, as players begin to focus in on that, I really am looking forward to seeing how they respond and who ends up on top of those rankings as we move towards that event. So number one for me, the 2022 World Cup.
Jim, you really know how to put the cherry on the sundae. That was yeah. That's exactly
what my wife says.
Wow.
That was.
I'd say that too.
She likes ice cream and chocolate syrup with a cherry on it. She does. Yeah. She loves it. With a little whipped cream. Yeah.
There you go. No, the World Cup.
Oftentimes we serve it in a bowl even.
Super creepy.
There he is.
Speaking of which,
you knew he was going to come. You couldn't leave that alone, Mark.
Did Jim actually prepare anything? Let me tell you, Jim's whole top five. Jim's whole top five was, I got a crystal ball, but my number 4 is Adam's number 5. I got a crystal ball, but my number 3 is Adam's number 4.
I didn't want to say anything. Well, because you know what, I was going to concede. I was going to concede that Jim won, but only because it was just what I was saying.
Yeah, no, Adam is my crystal ball, no question about it.
Yes.
It was a euphemism. Mark, I don't really have a crystal ball sitting in front of me. I'm not really juggling 3 of them. It's
I thought you were good
Adam's
at juggling.
Head is in front of me. I have a hologram of Adam's head.
Yeah. That is so
this is really
witchcraft is Satan's tool. But listen, you guys, I got a couple of comments on your top 5.
Okay.
So it was very interesting to see. We all watched Kevin and Brandon make huge waves, and then you're reminded quickly when the monsters show up, like Ryan shows up at the Worlds. And if Billy were to show up, it changes the dynamic quickly. Rapidly, you realize the top 1%, Blake's entered into there. You got Tony and Ryan. Billy wants to show up. Billy's in there. Then you get a whole second tier. And unfortunately, Brandon's in that second tier. Tommy's in that second tier. Tommy York, rather. They're a second tier, man. And there's a clear distinction, man. Someone like Ryan shows up, practices a little bit, and you realize the chasm that exists between the real top masters and these top pros that are pushing the envelope, trying to break through. So I think it was a reminder watching Ryan come out and manhandle these guys and change the dynamic. These guys can go to any tournament, show up. These second tier masters can show up and have their way. And then someone like Ryan shows up and it's like, okay, it's a whole different tournament. I want to say that. Second thing is Sully, man. Sully's a monster. She was exposed a little bit and we actually have it on video. So when we talk about Sully, I believe she's going to win the ITSF Women's Championship. I believe that. I believe she can win open events one day. But Todd Lafredo raced her in designated, and so did Christina Fuchs, raced her. And I got it all on video because I interviewed Todd on camera after he was done racing her. She has some weaknesses in the 3-bar to start winning. She'll win the pro events too, mind you. It's if she's going to win open, she's going to have to get a moving straight. She's going to have a standing straight. And she's going to have like 2 or 3 different types of straights because the top players will race her push up. After that, lights out. I think she can win an open event.
Big lift straight.
Yep, that's the one. Todd says it on camera. She needs a straight like on a half second on her setup, the same way she shoots her long. She needs the big lift straight and a moving straight, and that's it, man. She could beat them. She'll start beating them in open events. Anyway, that's my whole story.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that Todd isn't playing the women. I don't think he's playing the women's events at this stage. But you're right. You're right. And running into Ryan Moore defensively, a Todd Lafredo defensively, Tracy McMillan, et cetera, Bob Diaz if he plays. No, that could be a handful for her. And that's what I said. I don't think she's ready to win the super majors in open events, but maybe a regional, a state championship here and there. She certainly is capable of that for sure. You know, one thing I want to harken back to, the first 2 words that Mark Torres said when he came on, he said, super creepy. And I and we agree, Mark. We agree. Your performance in the open doubles final on the air was super creepy. But
I keep getting so I don't know what it is. It's my voice, right? It carries, and whether these guys hear my voice, they're like, dude, weird. We can hear you. We can hear you.
So you go to the golf. You go to the golf commentary, right?
Because you know what? They maybe the sound of your voice is soothing. They fall asleep to it. My voice, especially the kind of stuff I'm prone to saying, they look up. They're like, dude. Like I could talk the same volume as you, and I'll get in trouble. Whereas I can hear you, so I whisper like a weirdo.
Right. That's a good answer, Mark. It's a very, very good response.
You're welcome.
That's accurate. Yeah, very accurate.
I think he just deflected all blame.
I think so. Hey, you know,
No,
guys,
that's what he did.
we got a guest out there
Yes,
twiddling his
bring him
thumbs,
in.
Of course.
waiting to come on.
Well, it is like I was saying earlier today. If you had not gone to the Tornado Championships 2021 and you weren't there to see it in person, it would really be tough to actually believe that it actually did happen. But it did. A quadruple winner for that weekend. And it's, you know, like Mark was saying, he's in that upper echelon. When he shows up, all bets are off. And certainly we are so grateful once again to return to FoosTalk Live for, I believe, the second time. It's Ryan Moore. Hello, Ryan.
How's it going, guys?
Are you blushing yet?
No, I was just enjoying my very simple Corona since you guys are all saying all these big names that I never even heard of.
Is it a Corona regular or Corona Light?
And stick to Cerveza.
Cerveza.
Ryan lounging on a beach in Baja California. Nice for you to join us. Now, actually, I know Ryan just got off a plane last night coming back from Europe and is a little bit jet lagged, although he thinks not as much as if he had gone the other way. But Ryan, despite all that, we really appreciate you joining us tonight. And of course, the primary topic is your performance at the Tornado Championships a month ago, when after basically not playing for 2 years, you come out and you win singles, doubles, and mixed doubles and designated mixed. Did you lose? I mean, you lost the opening set of the open singles final, but did you lose a match all weekend? I don't believe you did.
Nope. Surprisingly, I didn't.
Jeez. Man.
Which is just extraordinary. And how do you, I mean, obviously, you know, I've had this opinion and this observation of great players that you can take time off and you still have it mentally. You still have the confidence you can do it and maybe a little bit of practice to get back into it. But how do you explain taking all that time off, focusing on your family, focusing on other things outside of competing at foosball, but to be able to come back and do what you did, which has only been done by 2 other players in history? How do you explain being able to do that?
You know, I definitely did not plan it. But I can, after a couple weeks of the tournament, I think it's all pretty clear how it happened. You know, I'm at a really, really good spot in my life. I think that's probably my number one reason. I'm very confident with everything going on. My business is becoming very successful. I've got a beautiful family. Everything that I do, whatever I put my hands on right now, is successful for the most part. Don't get me wrong; everything got its challenges. But I think that's my number one. Is I'm at a good place mentally and within myself. The second thing that was actually surprising, and it was the 2-year off was a complete fresh start for me. Before, you know, we subscribed to Inside Foos. I had totally had plans on studying up on competitors and doing all this and that. And I even talked to the Veta about it. And she's like, "Aren't you going to watch some videos?" I was like, "I haven't really made my mind up yet whether I'm not really, I'm just going to leave it blank." Well, I didn't. I didn't watch one video. I didn't. The only thing I did is I didn't want to come out and hurt my arm, so I practiced about 7 sessions over 2 weeks for 20 minutes a session, only shooting 2 bars, just to like warm my shoulder and my arm up. But I think what really came out of that was 2 years off. I forgot how to play everyone. And when I say that, I used to have strategies. I used to feed off like past tournaments, past events, and I know my competitors did as well. At Worlds, I just went straight in there with like, okay, I got to relearn this player. So I literally was like on demand learning versus trying to bring in past tendencies. And I think it allowed me to like adjust and to cope a lot faster to the player. Also didn't have a whole lot of expectations for myself. I guess that would be the third one. I wasn't planning on, I wanted to win doubles. That was my main focus. And I wanted to win mixed too with the Veta so we could play mixed doubles at the World Championships. And singles is just a cherry on top. So yeah, I think those are mainly the main reasons. As I'm in a good place mentally. I had a fresh mindset playing every single player, and no expectations besides open doubles.
Is it Ryan? Is it because you had less distractions in your regular life, in your personal life?
That's quite the opposite. I have more distractions than ever in my life right now.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, I got a lot more going on than I've ever had in my life, for sure.
Right, understood. No, it is astounding to watch this in person. That's the first time that I've been to a World Championships, and I have to thank you personally for making it so entertaining. It was Truly a blast. And kudos to your mom for putting on such a phenomenal event.
Yeah, definitely, man. She puts so much time and energy into that. It's
Yeah.
not even just at the tournament. She doesn't sleep at tournaments, but she's working that tournament months before and even several weeks after. So
Sure.
people don't really realize what all goes into a tournament that huge, but it's a lot.
Yeah, it's got to be
So yeah, she did a good job.
It's mind-bending to think about how much has to happen. So the total attendance was well over 500, correct?
I'm not 100%. I think Jim would know that more than
Right.
myself.
Yeah, 588 total players, almost 600.
So with the depth of players that were there, I mean, were you at all worried when you stepped in?
Well, that's the thing. I'm not really worried. So right. So it's a hard thing when you get up here, and I think only a few people can really attest to this. Like when you've already won everything at some point, it's like you have nowhere to go besides to, unless your life goal is just to win every single time, no matter what. I mean, you've already been the world champ. You've already done this. You've done that. So no, not really. I mean, like, the worst case, I lose. I hadn't played in 2 years. It wasn't going to be, like I said, everything's going so good right now. If I lost the Worlds, it wouldn't be the end of my world by any means. It would have sucked, but if I would have won doubles, my weekend would have been perfect. I would have been perfectly happy and good to go. But no, I had no worries.
Now, strategically speaking, because you played defense for Blake Robertson, was that something you decided in advance? Hey, let's do it this way, and let's keep it this way, and let's see how it goes. Was that something you guys decided ahead of time?
Yeah, me and Blake's we've actually played a few times now, and I've always played goalie. I've never played forward for him.
Really?
I think that, yeah, we've played a couple Louisiana States or like nationals down there. And so
2019 World Championships in Murcia, Spain, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, of course, the big ones. And yeah, and I'm transitioning that way now. So my whole goal moving forward is to kind of primarily be a goalie. Obviously, I still have the option, but I just I don't know. I'm doing this for like also a fresh start. It's fun. It makes foosball a lot of fun for me now because I have a whole new goal now. Is I want to be I want to declare myself to be the best goalie. And not just do it once, but over and over and over.
Well, you'll have to make the top 5 in the FoosTalk Live top 5, I think, for best goalies for sure.
Yeah, I think you might already be there, and that's something I think I said earlier. And Adam, I know you've got questions for him as well. But, one of the reasons I think you're playing goalie, and I kind of know you, and I've, of course, watched your career, you kind of need to have fun. You kind of need to enjoy it, right? And when it's the same old, as it kind of got to be maybe for you to some degree, that you said, I need a change. I need to take a look at this from a different angle. You began playing goalie, which is fun. You're back there more as a supportive player, although oftentimes you're such a dynamic offensive player. But you want to have fun, right? And goalie is fun for you. And I've already said, if you play goalie, you are the best goalie in the world. There isn't any question about it in my mind. But I think maybe you feel like you need to prove it a little more. But really what it comes down to is your enjoyment of the game and your ability to get up for a tournament. And doing it from goalie seems to do the job.
Yeah, and there's kind of two versions of having fun. So one is the having fun, Ryan, where you see me, passing it backwards and hitting it forwards and laughing. The other having fun is actually being just really competitive, and I mean that is fun when you're really competitive and you're trying, and you get scored on. You're not like sore loser. I mean, we all get that at times, right? So I think my goalie approach isn't the normal have fun that you would see out of me in like singles or as a forward. It's more of a competitive have fun. So I'm having fun by being competitive. So yeah, I'm definitely having a lot more fun as a goalie than as a forward in doubles. And it's really good when you play with people like Blake as well because it's nice to be able to chalk points for once.
Yeah, for sure. And you've helped Blake really. And of course, Blake has come so far in his game right now. What a great player he is. But also when you can support the growth of a player like that and help him to get to really to reach his potential and to be able to win championships from that forward position, that's got to be satisfying and fun as well. My other question for you, then I'm going to turn it over to Adam. We've talked with the Atkinsons here on this show. We've talked with Steve Murray, both of whom have won championships with spouses, right? Tommy and Kathy, of course, and Steve and Gina having won world championships playing together as husband and wife. And it's not an easy thing to do. You know, and you were able to do that this year. How special was that? And you also talked about the fact that, you know, you've won everything in the sport, and you've won multi-table singles and doubles championships. You've won gold medals with Team USA. You've won Tornado World Championships in every event. You've won the Roberto Sport. You tripled at the Roberto Sport World Championships in Poland. I was there. I saw it. But to win with your wife, and now potentially win a multi-table world championship in mixed doubles with your wife, first of all, how the heck do you do it? And how special is it?
It's great. I won't count my chickens before they hatch on IATSF. That's always up in the air. It's a lot. You know, it was really cool. Again, me and my wife overall, we're really well off right now. We're doing pretty good. Obviously, every relationship has its hard ends, but we went into this World Championships with a really great mindset. It was really, I guess, the best definition of it was a quiet storm. And you know, the only thing that maybe I did practice or I guess kind of plan for before Worlds is like the mental capacity behind the game. And we did have a couple discussions. I wouldn't say a bunch, but we had a couple discussions about just how your emotions affect the game in general. And I told her some of the best playing that I ever can do is when my partner's not kicking themselves in the ass after they mess up, or you know, panting and you know, this and that. Like if you make a mistake, you just get back in the game. The second you make a a hissy fit about it or whatever, it distracts me. You know, and it distracts your partner, it distracts you. It's just not good. So me and her, we had a really good game plan of just really mentality of a quiet storm. If you watch us play, we almost never talked. You know, we would win 2 games and we'd be like, okay, we need to try a little bit harder in this game right here because we know they're going to try harder. So it was kind of the mindset we had. We didn't let our guard down, and it flowed the whole way through. And I'm not going to talk too much more, but I tried that with Blake. It didn't quite work. So it works in some cases, and it doesn't work in others. But yeah, that's why I think we did it. We had a quiet storm. It worked well.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, Ryan, this is Adam Gilson here. Thanks for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. I had been talking to people, letting them know that I was going to be talking to you this weekend on this podcast. And one of the questions that kept coming up was, you know, everybody knows your stellar 2-bar offense, and everybody knows that you can just unload whenever you want to. But there was 2 things that people were talking to me about that they saw that you did at the Tornado Championships. One, you primarily were passing. You turned it on and shot every now and then with Blake, but you were primarily passing. And 2, your offense throughout the weekend was stellar. Could you walk us through that? Like, what is, and you don't have to give away company secrets, obviously, but like, you know, what is your mindset there? Because it seems like both of those things are interrelated. And what is it that you're actually thinking or doing or looking for?
Yeah, you know, I'm one of those people. Like, if you ever, you guys have talked to me once, and people talk to me all the time. I give away information, and the reason why is because I can key in real quick to see if you know what I'm doing, and I can make a really fast adjustment. It's a game of adjustments, right? You may come in and go, oh, he's primarily passing. I'm going to go focus passing. Great, please do, because the goal is wide open. So yes, 100%. I scored 3 points. Is what me and Blake counted from the 2-bar the entire tournament.
Wow.
And you know, the thing is about my goal back there, I am not the one controlling the match. I'm only the one supporting, as you guys have already mentioned. It's when a good goalie does. A good goalie does not score, does not need to score when they have a player like Blake in front of them. So correct. My offense is going to be short sprays, going to be passing, it's going to be this and that, and mostly because everybody is on my shots. Now, the second that people do start getting on passing, it's obvious. One, you know, it's very hard to not show somebody that you're on their passing unless you're just sitting there. And the second that happens, yeah, I'm just going to start blasting you, and that's going to be way worse for your team than me, you know, clearing the ball up. So, yeah. Offensively, it was all passing and short sprays, short, you know, just whatever, short options, and clears. It was not about pounding the ball. It was the second defensive here. Sorry, I lost myself there.
The second part was about defensively. Just what are you thinking? What's your mindset for what it is that you're going in for?
Yeah, obviously just to be a wall.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? And you know, as Jim even mentioned early on, picking up tendencies of Bobby, you know, 100%. I mean, if you don't learn from Bobby, you're kind of a fool playing goalie. I don't want to say you're full, but there's something to be learned from the reason why somebody can't shoot an open hole, and it's not just someone. It's me too. It's every single player in the game. And so my defense is not Bobby by any means, but I definitely picked apart the things that I loved about Bobby's defense and the knowledge and the feel that I learned from it to create kind of my own spectrum of how I block the goal. And it's really a game of minds. And it's kind of weird. When I play goalie, I feel like because I'm such a forward, I think this is a lot of things that a lot of goalies may not have that I do. And the reason why maybe I'm right now at least getting good percentages is I am a forward, right? So when I'm playing goalie and I'm playing defense, I can almost read my own defense as I'm doing it. And I can almost know what they're going to shoot because I'm based on my own movements and based on, their mindset, whether they're a repetitive player, whether, what their tendencies are. I can take their tendencies. I can almost look at the person and kind of know what kind of player they are based off just their personality. A lot of people don't really realize you can do that, but that's definitely a huge thing. And then I take all that and then I kind of feel it, to be honest with you. I take all that and I put it into, I start moving my defense, and based on what they've shot, based on what holes I'm leaving, how arrogant can I be? And, I'm not always right, but I think I can read myself, and that's what gives me the edge on people is I'm reading myself with you. So,
so what you're saying is you're using your own ability as a forward, which is arguably one of the top, best ever. And you're using that defensively, but you're also drawing from a deep well of your own knowledge and experience of the player base that you've been playing.
Right.
Wow. Okay. I don't think I have that in my toolbox, but I think that's really great that you do that. That's fantastic. So I know Mark, has a question, but I've got one more for you. I just got
hog
one
up all the time, dude. Just keep
talking. Everybody, there was 40 minutes of questions.
Go ahead, dude.
40 minutes. The last one. It'll be quick. Please. So this is this is a question that's kind of for all the people out there that are plateaued at expert or plateaued at amateur or plateaued at whatever. So for you in your career, Ryan, as you moved on and progressed and got better and better and went up through the ranks, what were the aha moments for you? When did you know you could compete against this next group, or what was your mindset there?
I was listening to you guys earlier, and Jim really kind of hit the nail on the head on the plateau. There's always a plateau. It's a matter of when is it, how long is it, and can you get away from it? I felt like I was indestructible. I won. Jim got to be there for it. I won the ITSF junior singles championship, the first one they had. That was a big moment for me because it was just on an international scale. All of a sudden, I thought I was great, this and that. And I came from that, and I was already approaching master status at that point. And I kind of, I believe I've won several state championships. I became a master, and then there was about a 2-year stretch where I didn't win any world titles or Vegas titles, and I would have called that time my plateau.
Yeah.
And from that point, I ended up winning 2010 world singles and ITSF singles in that same year. And from that point, it was just kind of a game back and forth. Like I said, you've hit the top, now where do you go? Of trying super hard, not trying super hard, getting in my own head, not getting in my head. So yeah, the thing is about a plateau is it's going to be that person. That person's ability is going to be what gets them in or out of that. I mean, it comes down to the mindset, right? If you never give up, you're always going to get better. If you plateau and you know it, you're satisfied, then you're fine. If you're not satisfied, you're not hungry to get better, you're not going to get better. I mean, let's be honest. There has to be something that drives you. And most people don't realize how deep you have to go to get to the top. And then even once you get to the top, how deep you have to go to beat a guy like Tony. I mean, you've got to go into your soul to beat that guy. I mean, you got to sell your soul to the devil to beat that guy. I didn't do this.
What does that mean, though?
I like it.
What does that mean?
That's good.
Blood sacrifice,
let me interject some
Santeria.
Let me interject some history. I'm going to interject some history, then we'll go to you, Mark. 2007 is when Ryan won that junior championship, the ITSF Junior Championship in St. Vincent, Italy. And then you're right. I think there was a period, you had a couple of big wins. I remember a big win over Rob Mares in Vegas, maybe 2008. And then in 2009, I think when you really, when we started to see you kind of come back to that upwardly mobile kind of position was in the Netherlands, when you finished second in open singles at the Tech Ball World Championships, only losing to Fred on a table that was relatively unfamiliar to you. But that's kind of when it all started again for you. And then, of course, you went on and had that great 2010. But I just want to interject real, Mark, that 2007 to 2009 is probably kind of that plateau era that Ryan's talking about.
It's kind of sad for me because I walked away from foosball in like 07, 08, just walked away and didn't even look back for 10 years or whatever it was. I still remember, Jim. It was like when you started dating Amy. So I missed this whole gap. All with your rise, Ryan, I missed it all. But it's been very exciting to see you play. I mean, see you come back and play. So it's funny. I come back into foosball when you're really taking the time off. But what I want to get to is I appreciate that you're so open. You're not all, most masters are not open. As a matter of fact, many masters will give you some windy kind of like hide what they do kind of thing, and you don't really care. And I appreciate that. But so I want to kind of get into the nitty gritty of what we're looking at from the booth and open singles final, how we're interpreting it, and what the reality is for you. And so, in brief, I watched Dave Gummison. I followed him around when he won open singles at the Worlds. I followed him around to like 5 matches. And it was, for me, it was the most incredible 2-bar performance. But I followed him around. I didn't follow you around. I got to see what you did to Tony, though, in the finals. And what we're looking at is you're basically shooting a short split, like a second hole, like a tuck 3/4 split. And you shoot a bank every once in a while. And you find these gaps in his zone. Now, Tony's historically has got the best single zone around. And to see you torch his zone like that, like it was just really, it was psychotic. It was so good. It was crazy. And I guess I want to kind of ask you, is that what you were doing? I mean, is you're picking on a couple holes and shooting the bank every once in a while? The short hole's like an option just to scare him off. What was happening, dude? What were you seeing in his zone? And kind of talk about that.
Well, I started shooting a shot on him, which is the long tuck middle. And I never really had that in my arsenal until lately. And I mean, I had it, but it was such a how do I say it, laborious or injuring shot on your arm that it's just not one that you really want to utilize for a long event. So, you know, and it was funny because we even had conversations before that match and well before that match. How I was like, yeah, I'm really trying to win singles events from the forward position because I got to save my arm this weekend. You know, coming back after 2 years not playing an event, my arm's going to get destroyed if I go coming out here banging longs on the 2-bar. So I think that kind of set that up a little bit. I never shot that hole a lot. Usually I go long on them. Yeah, because of that hole, it was opening up a couple other ones. But really, I think it was just execution. I never really have that great of execution. I don't want to say that. I haven't had that good of execution against him where I was hitting holes that accurately. I was just really on, against him in both finals. Usually I'll shoot the short and I'll hit the corner, or I'll hit the wall. I'll shoot the long, it'll hit the corner, it'll hit the wall. I was just literally hitting the goal right where I wanted it almost every single time. I don't think I misexecuted at all. So that, I think, was the big difference.
That's why it reminded me of Dave Gummison, frankly. And Dave Gummison was never able to do that again, by the way. He couldn't shoot like that again. I would love to see you shoot like that. If you can duplicate that, and it'll be difficult. Because when you could just, dude, if you could shoot like that with that kind of accuracy, it's high risk too. You're shooting a 3/4 basically tuck split. If you misexecute that thing, Tony's going to get +1 on you. That thing's coming back at you light speed. So very, very impressive, and hoping to see you duplicate that kind of performance. I think it's a generational shooting performance in open singles final, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, while we're on that topic, you know, since we're talking about Tony's game, you played in the finals against his protege, Tommy Yor Jr., and Tommy was on fire in the prior match, and then stepped up against you and Blake, and all of a sudden his fire went out. So one thing I got to say, I observed. Now I'm a beginner goalie. I love playing that position, and I love watching your technique. I noticed you did something, and it seemed to really take apart his philosophy, his shooting. You pushed your 2-row all the way to the far wall, so you were blocking with that second man. You were blocking his long, and then you used your goalie to kind of take away his middle and the short haul. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, it just really depended on what part or what I guess what game of that match that we played them. But yes, that was the general idea behind him and actually most players that I played, depending on what their favorite side is.
So are you forcing a player like Tommy to go to dead bar on the pull side? I mean, because there's no room there. Maybe half a ball length when you've got your two roll.
Yeah, good luck. There's no players that are on the top that can consistently hit a dead bar pull side accurately.
Right.
So if they're going to go pull side and I'm posted, even if they only hit it 50% of the time, I'm still getting 50%.
Got it. Yeah, his percentage was way down against you.
Yeah. That defense where you post up on that near side, which I think we first saw against Tony several years ago, and it really was so successful against Tony. And I actually adopted that defense as I play here locally, or when I play, I started using that defense. And basically, you're daring that guy to hit a dead man on you. And as you say, very few players at the top end, at the middle end, at the bottom end can hit that dead man near side. And so if they do, you say good shot, right? Otherwise, you're baiting and switching that split or that far side, and it's such a smart defense.
Let me qualify that, though, because they're going to get a bunch of amateurs who are listening to this broadcast and go try to do that defense. Let me warn you about something. You can get away with that. Yeah. If you're Ryan Moore, you could probably get away with it because
there's a lot of thought behind it.
Yes, and there's head game too. There's a mental component.
Like, Mark, like with the Lewis Shuffle when he would do that fast shuffle, it wasn't just moving fast. There was mental stuff going on. He knew exactly what he was doing.
He knew where he was going to end up.
It's the same sort of thing.
So some masters will get away with that against other masters. Now, if you go and try to post Tommy Orr, he has 9 other shots, taps, other stuff. He's highly disciplined. So, Tom, when you go use that defense, use it with a lot of forethought.
Yeah, be careful,
You're going to get destroyed.
Okay.
You're going to get destroyed.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say my DYP, it's not going to be a big deal necessarily.
Yeah, no, true. But here's the thing, too, that occurs to me, right? When we talk about the greatest players of all time, and you are certainly on the short list, Ryan, but you're the only player who has won world championships like this year. You won 4 titles. You won 2 of them playing goalie. You won 1 of them playing forward, and you won singles, which is basically forward. You have to be a great forward to win singles, but also goalie. You look at every other triple that's ever occurred at the Tornado Championships. No one else did that. No one else in the history of the sport has combined the ability, I don't think. I mean, Doug Furry, you can go way back in the day, great goalie, great singles player, great forward, but not like what you're doing. When you're done playing, when we get 10 years from now, when we look back on this second, third golden era of these great players, and we look at who we think are the greatest players, we have to factor in the fact that you have won championships at goalie and you've won championships at forward. I mean, no one else can do that. Do you take great pride in the fact that you are as versatile a player maybe as we have ever seen at the highest level? Do you take pride in that? Is that something you focus on? We talked about you having fun at goalie earlier, but is it something you focus on and say, I want to be a versatile, all-around great player and be good at everything? And you are. Is that something you take pride in?
I mean, of course I take pride in it. I wouldn't say it's been a goal by any means. I think it's just something that kind of happened. Again, as we talked about earlier, just keeping the game fun, creating new challenges for myself. So I'd say that's probably the driving factor of what's making me be so versatile. Is I don't want to just be good at something. I want to be good at everything. I want to be the best at everything. I mean, obviously that may be a stretch, but that's kind of the feel. Is I want to master every single aspect of whatever I do in life. So that would be probably the driving force more so than anything. But yeah, you can call me the modern age Todd, I guess. I mean, the guy can play both forward and goalie. He's won everything, I think, as both as well. I'm not
but
sure.
Not at the same event, though. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, he came close back in 2016 when he played goalie and finished second in singles, finished second in doubles playing goalie. But no one else has done what you did this year.
But you can't discount the fact that I was playing with Blake too. And so if you take Fred, for instance, if you put Fred behind Tony at the World Championships and he tripled, he would theoretically get the same exact title in a different way. So, yes, I played good in doubles. Blake, I think, played great. There was maybe 1 or 2 matches that he played fair or good, but definitely good enough to win. But he played great otherwise. So I kind of hated it when people were giving me so much credit in doubles. Like, man, you put up a wall, this and that. It's like, yes, it's the thing about playing with a top player. If you lose, it's all your fault, and if you win, it's all because of the top player. But yeah, he played great. So that's obviously a big part of this.
Yeah, no question. And that was on my list earlier, focusing on Blake Robertson as being now. We have to begin to think of him in those terms, right? As one of the very best players, as an almost all-time great player, perhaps eventually, as a future Hall of Famer. And we kind of forget. We think, oh, Ryan's playing with Blake, and Blake's a very good forward. No, Blake is a great forward, and we can't forget that.
Yeah, I mean, look at it. He almost won the year prior with Todd. You know what I mean? So, and I think one thing that me and Blake have that him and Todd don't have is we've got the vibe. You hear us saying the stupidest things, and everybody's like, "Are these guys retarded, or what's going on?" I mean, why are they saying hurricane? What is a hurricane? You know what I mean? What are they talking about? Kentucky's freezing over. Everybody's getting stuck here. Nobody knows, and that's what's great. Everybody's like, "Are these guys stupid?" But me and him know exactly what we're talking about. You know what I mean? So we got this like very unique vibe where we're all out and we don't care what people think about us. And so yeah, I mean, Blake's a great player.
We can stop looking at both of you as like hayseed yokels. Okay, yeah, I guess we can do that. All right,
Jim Stevens, did you just say that?
No, and because that's kind of what he was implying, but no question about it. And that's the last thing. And I don't want to turn it over to someone else here, but the one thing you don't get enough credit for is how smart of a player you are. I always, when I watch you get in front pin position when you're playing the forward position, and you start walking it and working it, and it's always fascinated me because you take 5-6 seconds sometimes, and your shooting percentage when you do that is like 80 or 90%. It's ridiculous, and you always seem to pick the right hole at the right time as you're walking that ball around on that 3-rod. As you're working it aggressively, tapping, boom, boom, back and forth. Do you have specific things you're looking at with a defender, or do you just kind of have this is going to set up that's going to set up this sort of approach, or are you, as I say, looking at specific things and eventually deciding where to go?
I would say two things. I'd say more so that I'm not. The movements is more of a feel for where they're wanting to be or what they're thinking. I'd say that's probably the number one reason why I do it. Or man, let's put both of these reasons the exact same level. The second reason is sometimes I just really want to be aggressive, and that's a way for me to be very aggressive, to kind of like turn up the heat a little bit, to get them on their toes a little bit, make them get a little stressed. So those are the two things. I get them stressed, get me pumped, and then two is yes, I'm getting a read because when I do a special tap or like say I'm tapping, and then all of a sudden an aggressive tap, well, they're going to go to where they want to be at, right? And now they have to think as a player, okay, he saw that. Is he going to go to the open hole now, or is he going to still go to that same hole? And then I go to the same hole the very next time. Okay, well, he went to the same hole. Is he going to now go to the open hole because last time he went to this new hole? It gets deep. It gets really deep. And then the only player that's ever took me about, like what I just said, was maybe 2 steps in the second time. With Tony, me and him, we've gotten about 6 steps in. And it's equivalent of like a chess match, right? You're pre-planning the way things are. You're basing things off the past. Me and him have gotten about 6 in my mind, 6 steps in based off the past. And after that game, we both looked at each other and we talked about that ball, and he was like, we both came to the exact same terms that the reason why I did what I did, what he did, why he did, was based off of 6 steps prior.
Wow.
So that's the reasons why is I feel where they're going to be at, and that's kind of where I go.
That's phenomenal. And Ryan, you're talking about something that is very, very, very high level foosball, which kind of leads into my next question here for you. We talked about plateaus a bit ago. And to all the players out there that are trying to get to the next level, the expert level, the beginner, whatever, the pro level, is there something special about you or Blake or Tony? Is it something that's just like only a few people can ever have? Is it like the Force? Is it like Star Wars? Or can other people, like, can they get there? And if they can, what would you suggest?
Yeah, so there is an aspect, I think, of natural ability that has to pitch you there, but there has been great players throughout time that has not been the all out best skilled player, but they get there and they still win. I think what pits us in this elite category is at some point in our life, we have put foosball ahead of everything. And I mean like everything. Like every single day you think about foosball. Hell, when I was going, I don't know, this is not an accurate like experience, but like I'd go to the gas station, a guy was going to pull into the parking lot, so I pulled in before him. That's not the case, but everything is somewhat related to foosball, and you think about that. Well, if that happened if this was a situation of foosball, how would I handle it versus now? I mean, this is just maybe something that's with me, but the reality is you make foosball. It's embedded in your life, and it's embedded in your brain, and everything is kind of around foosball, and that's all you think about. You have to put your life and soul into it. Any of these top players have done that, guaranteed. At some point in their life, foosball was number one, and maybe even for a long time. So, obviously you can get better without that, but that's what I think pits us in this kind of category.
And I just have to follow that up because that gave me chills hearing that, Ryan. And you're right. And I think a lot of people don't understand that because that's something that I felt once a long time ago when I was playing and going up the levels, but also just in life in general, the different things that I've done. And I think a lot of people, for those of you out there that are listening, you could probably relate that to other things in your life that aren't foosball. If foosball is the thing you want to get into, because I can just tell, Ryan, based on what you're saying and what you're talking about this next level of, I mean, you're talking about pulling into a gas station and relating that to foosball. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
What could you extrapolate on that? Tell us what that meant.
I just want to say that was not an actual situation. I was just trying to put something together, and I can't really remember. It's been a long time since this was the case for me. Foosball has not been my number one for some time now. Ever since I started business, I would say. But what I was meaning about that is I can relate everything in life to foosball. I mean, everything. It didn't matter what it was. It somehow got brought back to foosball, and that's how embedded foosball was in my brain. Like I like just for simple games you play. This is a situation that happens all the time. Not all the time, but like you're playing a game with somebody, you're playing just something else, and then the same kind of head game. God, what would be a simple way to put this? I think he's going to go left.
Yeah.
And he went right. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you just play this back and forth game, and you relate it to foosball. I'm just saying, like, foosball is embedded in you. Every decision you ever make, you almost relate it to foosball in some way.
True.
Right.
So true.
I've got a 4-year-old.
I'm driving down the LA freeway and I'm picking holes. Where can I go? I'm going over here. I'm going to bait the guy here. I'm going to act like I'm going here. I'm going over there.
Exactly. That's a good synonym or that's a good.
That is crazy. No, I know what you mean. The analogy I would have is this, and this is where I think is true for the foosball champions. The guys that are great at foosball decided to hyper focus on foosball. But I think foosball is very unique too because there's an obsessive quality to foosball.
Yes,
embedded in foosball, in this like fascination with the small little ball and all the nuance and detail that goes into execute. We don't even think about it anymore, but to execute a good shot, there's so much micro muscle movement and so much discipline, and so many things have to happen consistently. And it's a little weird analogy, but think about if people make these like people that are into miniature detailing and that kind of thing. There's an obsessive fixated quality on the micro, like the minutia, almost like microscopy, which I deal with all the time. But it's like there's some kind of I work with microscopes, right? My surgeons work with microscopes, but there's some the ophthalmologists. Interesting, the attention to detail. Well, let me get to my point. Blake Robertson, Tony Spritterman, Ryan Moore, who's showing it in other aptitudes, by the way. It's the whatever aptitude, as long. I mean, I'm not to say that if Tony Spritterman wanted to be an NBA basketball player, he could have been. No, I'm not to say that. But any aptitude he could have hyper focused on and excelled at, he would have been great at it at an elite championship level. Because if he wanted to put together motorcycle engines, or if he wanted to do anything, he would have been great at it. And Ryan, same. Kudos to you. But I think that is a small curve. If we look at the world as a bell curve, there's like some 1% or maybe some 5% that can hyper focus and can excel at a level that's above average. And so I think that's what probably combines these guys. They chose foosball. It's their fixation. It's the thing that they wanted to be great at, and so they were great at it. And I think that for the rest of us, that's our burden. Our burden is, if we wanted to arrive there, are we willing to make that sacrifice? Are you, Adam, willing to give up everything?
You're depressed. Why are you talking to me, dude? You're depressing me.
I know. Well, dude, I mean, this is just.
I was going to get a table. Now I'm just going to get. Now I'm just going to get some ice cream.
Here's the beauty about foosball. There's still the seniors. There's still the classic events. There's still not.
Oh my God!
So, good luck to you, Adam. Good luck.
Storms are coming.
Oh no,
Mark, why do you show up? It hurts.
I know, that's my whole goal in life.
Well, you're completed, man.
We're speaking with Adam Gilson and Ryan Moore, actually.
Yes.
On FoosTalk Live on a Sunday night. And great question. Way to depress Adam a little bit. But I think what Mark and what Ryan are saying, it's just such a great point. And I think it's something that's a common denominator with every great foosball player is, and Mark kind of said it, they selected foosball, right? They chose foosball. It was going to be something, right, Mark? It was going to be something, whatever it is, whatever they applied themselves to. Foosball just happened to land on their radar. And foosball is such a complex, deep, multifaceted sport. It really is. And you try to tell people that, they don't always get it, but it really is. And Ryan, you said it early. You said you want to be great at everything you do. And right now that seems to be the case. You're a great dad, you're a great husband, you're a great businessman, you're a great foosball player. And really you learned that from foosball, didn't you? I've always said that for me, foosball was sort of my martial art. It's where I learned about myself. I learned how to compete. I learned how to respond under pressure, and it's really influenced the rest of my life in so many ways. All of us who have played foosball for a long time and played it at the highest level, like you have allowed that and to influence us in so many positive ways in our lives. And I think that's kind of what has been sort of a theme of tonight, speaking with you, is it isn't just about foosball. It's about being excellent. And it's something I want to teach my kids. It isn't practice makes perfect. It's that practice creates growth towards excellence, right? And that's kind of what you're touching on here, isn't it? If it isn't foosball, it's going to be something else. But foosball has allowed you to look at everything through the lens of foosball and strive for excellence.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things too that I think most people, I think not necessarily fail at, but aren't at the best at is actually failing, right? Or losing or not succeeding, or even the thought of not succeeding or failing or losing. And foosball, I think, has taught me that as well. Like, there's always risky times in life. Well, there's not always, but I'm a very risky person. I take risks. I take big financial risks for potential huge gains. And I'm okay with that. And if I fail and I lose, I'd never fail and I never lose because I learned something. And long-term knowledge is more valuable than any dollar you can put on it. So that's one thing I think foosball taught me is when I lose a match, I know why I lost that match. And yes, I lost that match and lost that tournament, but I gained that wealth of knowledge that I can take with me the rest of my life. And I apply that within everything. And I'm not afraid of losing because I know that I can win, and I know I can do it again. I know I can still succeed. I just have to, figure out why. So I think that's maybe two big things as well. But yeah, foosball, I've related my whole life to foosball. I dedicate my whole life to the game that, what it gave me. I feel like I'm confident in life because I feel like I can win anything. I feel like I could be the best at anything. So yeah, foosball's gave me that, and it may not give everybody that, but it's definitely gave me, I think, a competitive edge in life over most people because of this little game.
Ryan, I want to go back real quick to something you were just saying. You don't define yourself as a person as somebody that wins or loses foosball tournaments, right? You're just your own self. You're Ryan. If you go and you lose a tournament at the end of it, or you don't win a match, whatever, you're still you. Like, there's no ego involved. You know what I mean? Like, would that sound accurate?
Yeah, I really don't enjoy the whole people come up to me and saying, "Oh, Ryan Moore," like, yeah, it's not a thing for me. I don't take up to it well. I wish people would just call me by Ryan and not Ryan Moore.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, though. It kind of comes with it. But yeah, I do like being that normal person. That's why I don't think I'd ever be a good famous person. Like if I was actually truly famous, I couldn't be famous because I just wouldn't know how to handle it. I wouldn't be very good at it, I don't think, because most of the famous people, they know they're famous and they act it. So yeah, I'd say 100%.
Yeah, I just asked that I'm sorry, just to follow through with the thought. I just asked that because your sense of self isn't defined by what happens on the table, so your ego is not involved when you're playing, and I feel like that lets your mind get out of the way of your body doing what it needs to do when you play, which is why I'm
Yeah,
asking that.
when I'm playing, it may be a little different. I do. Ego is not a bad thing. It's not a good thing at
Right,
times. It's
right.
not a bad thing. Having an ego is what has let many players win this game. I mean, if you think of the greats, even back in the day, like Horton or Tommy. I mean, these guys were destroying people, and guess what? I guarantee you, their ego carried them through many championships and gave them many titles. It probably made them lose too, but but yeah, overall, I definitely am not a very egotistical person. But on the table, yeah, I mean, I definitely don't want somebody to beat me. It may hurt my ego a little bit, but not just a little bit, just a tiny bit. But it's a good thing. You don't want to lose, and you don't want to. I mean, nobody wants to lose.
Yeah,
So
there's got to be a bit of that, right? Just a touch of humility every once in a
for
while.
sure.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt. Well, we've been talking about the micro aspects of this sport. Let's talk about the macro. Let's step back and take a full look at 30,000 feet here, Ryan. So back in the day, when this was really in its first golden age, even the second golden age, foosball was something that you could become as a professional, something you could do full time and make money at it. So, okay, we know that's unlikely right now, at least in this generation. So, what do you say for the next generation? How do you say to them, hey, guys, here's how we develop this sport to the point where you as an exceptional player can make a living at this? How do we do that?
Yeah, we kind of, I think this was something we barely touched on the first time we talked, and this would
Mhm.
be its own entire
Episode.
conversation with you guys. I think it gets very deep, and to be honest with you, I haven't quite put the mental capacity towards it because it does get very deep, and I don't consume myself with things unless I consume myself with things. I don't really want to just be there and not be there. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I get you.
If it was something I jumped into, then it would be I'd be all in or nothing kind of guy.
Sure.
But what is currently happening is the correct approach. The Foosball Club USA getting it into the schools,
Mm-hmm.
but there is such a higher, and I don't want to make this sound bad, but it has to be so much bigger for it to actually put a really big indention. And what we're doing, or what they're doing right now, is absolutely influential. Like the infrastructure of Foosball Clubs USA, what's happening right now is absolutely has to be done right now in
Mm-hmm.
order for it to be big in the future. But you've got to get sponsorship, and what's cool is getting sponsorship into foosball is very difficult. We all know that.
Oh, yeah.
But getting sponsorship into kids clubs that keeps kids off the street, puts them into something, is not very difficult as long as you have the right business person to create an actual prospectus to show a large person investor exactly how we're going to spend their money, how we're going to execute it. Here's the top executives behind this nonprofit. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's what it's going to do for your company. Here's how it's going to be presented. This is something that I personally could, not easily, but I think that I could definitely go out. I could get $500,000. I can get $1 million. But the amount of time that would need to go into it and the
Mm-hmm.
amount of thought is, it's a lot. It's a full-time job.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, but it is, what I'm saying is it's possible, and I think it's 10 times more possible, 100 times more possible to get investment into Foosball Clubs USA than it would be to get investment into foosball in general.
Right.
So yeah, I think Foosball Clubs USA, what they're doing right now, getting people involved, getting the infrastructure built, is imperative. And then I think there has to be a very large donation or influx of capital that has to be injected for 10 years before you'll actually see a return on that investment.
Right.
And the return is going to be very minimal, but it will be there. And my big thing is, I think, if you have 100 kids on Foosball Club USA, you may get 5 of them, or you may get 10 of them if you're lucky, that'll actually convert into foosball players.
Right.
So
Yep.
that has to be a very big model. And the biggest issue, I think, with Foosball Clubs USA is you don't have people like Sandy in Colorado, and you don't have people that are ready to put their heart and soul into it for free. So what you have to do is you have to pay those people, and you have to pay them for their time. And I know it sounds bad, but at the same time,
No.
it's kind of the reality of things, right? Everybody has a value, everybody has time. So that's what that influx of capital comes, is you start paying these people you start incentivizing them, you start giving them pools of cash to actually be able to buy food for the kids or to fund some kind of, I don't know, trip or whatever it may be, that gets these kids involved. So this infrastructure has to be by the tens of thousands of kids for it to actually pay off into the tour. And then you got to think, when you're talking about kids, you're talking about what, kids in elementary school or middle school,
high school,
high school as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I'm not that intertwined. Is that what's happening with foosball clubs right now? Is it mainly high school?
No, I think it's middle school. I think that's where a lot of it's starting.
Middle school is like, I think, the sweet spot, right?
Yeah. Yep.
High school kids are already kind of getting their identity. They're kind of, going their own routes. I think middle school is where kids may be a little more persuasive to go directions or to give them opportunity for them to be more open-minded to it.
Yeah, they're seeking a level. I think, especially 12, 13 years old, you're trying to find an identity. And it's hard to find.
Exactly. So investing in those kids and doing it by the tens of thousands of kids, and that will pay off. So if you got, 12, 13, it's going to be a good 10 years before those kids are going to be able to convert into actual foosball players before they're over 20, 21, 22.
Right.
Even 8. I mean, at best. I mean, and sure, those kids could come in right away. And then it gets tricky. And again, I don't want to get too deep into it because, it starts getting tricky, and every route may not be the right route. And you got to think really deep in this stuff before I really spit this out. But then there's the question of whether or not you separate the kid tournaments from the adult tournaments. And I don't have an answer for you because I haven't got to think really, really deep into it. But you have to, figure out what's best for both tour players and kids at the same time. And financially what's best. So again, there has to be a big business model. It has to make sense. There has to be salaries, there has to be budgets. And it has to be very high level thinking to actually make this thing really blow up, like China blow up.
Sure.
But it can happen. It can happen with, over a 10-year time, say $10 million. And I know that sounds like a lot of money, but at the end of the day, it's really not if you don't make it a lot of money. And that may sound funny too, but I feel like I can raise $10 million in a couple weeks in my industry.
Sure.
So that's the thing. $1 million a year is I don't think too impossible to find.
It's all about also media and promotions. I mean, you've really got to get the word out. People need to hear about this. It needs to be a big deal.
Here's the thing: is that's 100% correct. I think for foosball side, but yes, there's companies that will donate this. Obviously, we all understand it's a tax write-off for these guys, but they'll do it because, like my company that I'm creating right now, it's allocating 1% of all profits go to charities.
Okay.
I'm not going to kind of blow the torch on this, but yes, we're planning on some of this going to Foosball Clubs USA.
Sure.
And so, there's companies that have this embedded into their system already. They're going to donate money no matter what. It looks good. They can put it on their website. They can say they're helping kids. And think about how many kids, Jesus Christ. I mean, there's thousands of kid companies out there. I mean, it's just unlimited. I mean, if you approach 1,000 companies with a very well built out plan, you're going to get 10 grand, 50 grand. I mean, like seriously, this money comes fast from these huge companies. It's nothing.
Yep.
But it's just taking the person to do it. It's donating the time. It's, having the mental capacity behind the business plan. There's a lot to it. And I would love to tell you that I can do that right now, but I can't. And it's actually going to be a good thing. It's like if I focus on that now, I would only have a little to give. Whereas if I focus on my company now, in 5 years from now, I could have a lot to give. So it's a balancing game. But there's like I said, this could be its own conversation. I can go on forever about this. But what's happening right now is absolutely 100% the direction that it needs to go before it can get to the direction that I'm saying it needs to go.
No, it's we want to see that stair step. We want to see it like when you're in grade school, high school, and you want to become a pro tennis player. You can see the steps you got to take. You know what you got to do.
Right.
the dedication that needs to come from early on in your career to get to where you want to go. And of course, you need a sponsor and need people to believe in you too. But with foosball, you don't see those steps. They're like no steps at all.
Right. And you also got to give them a reason too, right? I mean, like again, I haven't thought too much about it, but you're kind of putting me out there. You got to give them a reason. Why do they want to be the best? So a lot of this is going to kind of fall into the hands of the ITSF right now. I mean, how can we make this thing, worldwide where it's actually recognized and people understand? I mean, obviously the Olympics is what everybody goes to. Is it possible? Of course, but how? And when? You know, I mean, so there's got to be even a more of a reason. And you know, a lot of times when people have so many questions and don't have answers, they just give up. But it's a very deep mentality of thinking about how to make this happen.
So
Same thing with growing the sport in general. I mean, there's a very deep mentality that has to go in there to actually plan all the directions you have to go to make it perfect.
and this is just a brainstorm, but if I were to ask you for the near future, if we could get you on a panel with several other people to talk about this on air, how we strategize together and get this to happen, would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, of course. You know, I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Okay.
It's definitely an open. Oh, I'm an open discussion kind of guy. I definitely don't want to say I'm always right because I'm not.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, I think that there's definitely got to be some minds that come together and a lot of people that have to execute to make it happen.
Sure, let's make it happen for sure. Let's put together some consortium of people like yourself who have something to say and can add some positive input into how we move forward and make this happen. But
yeah. Yeah, and no doubt about it. And we've really run the gamut tonight. We've covered several things, certainly talking about your great performance, but also showing that that you're more than just a foosball player. You have an awareness of what really needs to happen on a worldwide focus as far as foosball is concerned. And Ryan, always entertaining. You know, this is the second time we've had you, and the second time we have really reached pretty deeply into several different topics. I know we've got about 8 minutes left in the show, and I'm sure these guys have a few more questions for you. But I just want to let you know how much we appreciate you, not only as a player, but as far as being a true foosball man,
yep.
And how much you care about what happens in the foosball world. So thank you very much from me.
No problem, Jim. Thank you, buddy, as well. We appreciate everything that you and your team has done.
Hey, Ryan, you've grown on me, dude. You've grown on
me.
Oh, man, dude.
That's hard to do.
I know, it's super hard. Dude, super hard.
I don't know if it's a good thing, though. Is that a good thing or no? Because that means you'll talk to me more often.
No, well. But I'll tell you this, dude. Seriously, at the Worlds, I won't say who, someone tried to tell me that you were a bully. And I said, look, man, what you got to understand is Ryan is like me. He's a big old kid. Ryan's a kid like me. And once they started looking at you through the lens of a kid, I turned someone else to like you too. Now you have two people that like you, bro. Okay,
awesome.
Two people. So just a heads up, dude.
Well, I couldn't tell in the finals against Tony. I don't know how that guy always gets the favorite in the crowd, but it just I think it's because I played Bobby for so long.
Yes. If you're gonna be the bad guy, dude, you're gonna carry the villain for a long time.
By the way, man, that was a match. Now, you've played in a lot of big matches in your career. Where does that one rank as far as great matches? I mean, for those of us covering it, for those that were there in attendance watching it, people watching it live around the world, people who have downloaded or watched it at InsideFoos.com, where does that match rate as far as the great matches of your career?
Yeah, I'd say top 3, and I think the reason why too is like if you actually, I mean, you guys obviously watched it. The first match was back and forth. In the 5th game, I'm almost 100. I'm like 99% positive. I had him 3-0 in the 5th, and nobody really talked about that. Nobody talked about that. I had him 3-0 in the 5th, and I choked. I'm a 100% honest guy. I choked. I was like, I'm about to win the world championships. Now I've been in this situation 1,000 times, right? Where I'm like, you're about to win and you lose, right? And I think we've all heard of this or talked to this. And I know it, so I thought it, and I was like, oh, I know it. But guess what? It happened. It really did. It happened, and I choked. And after that match, and after I lost, I was like, okay. I went back to the room and I went to the vet, and I was like, I'm just gonna be honest. I choked, and it wasn't for any reason except for the fact that I knew I was about to win. And I was just like, so I went back to the drawing board. I think the reason why I put it in my top 3 the most is because when I went back up there and I talked to her, I was just like, God, I feel like I was playing good. Like, I am playing good. I'm not playing bad. I'm right there. I have my chances. I'm leading most of the time. I was like, I really got to prove myself again. Like, it's been a while since I proved myself. The last time I won was 2014 in singles. I've got to prove myself more than in just foosball right now. This is, I got a lot of big stuff going on in business right now. I'm raising an incredible amount of team members and money, and I'm trying to go on a nationwide play with my company. And like this is bigger than foosball again. It's like I got to prove that I can do anything that I want to do, and I got to prove that I can beat him. I got to dig deeper than I've ever dig before. because that's the, the kind of the route, and that's what I did. I went back down there, and he had me 3-0 in the fifth, and I was it was a very weird situation. I wasn't in defeat. I wasn't like, come on, you got to come back. I ended up doing a pass that slopped in, and then I had this weird thought. I was like, man, if I get this next one, I have a chance, and I got the next one, and then he had me 4-2, and I was like, if I get this next one, I kind of have a chance. You know what I mean? So it was just that game all the way until I came back and won 8-6. But yeah, no, I think the reason why I put it in my top three is because of how deep I had to really dig emotionally, mentally. I told you I had to sell my soul to the devil. People don't realize how good Tony is. I mean, people do realize, but it's beyond. You think he's good because of his titles. You don't know he's good because of how smart he is and how consistent he is. And you got to dig deeper than you ever dig to try to beat that guy.
Yeah, it takes one to know one, right? It takes one to know one. You recognize that, and I mean, I've had several people tell me that match was played at maybe the highest level that any match has ever been played, between you two guys. And so it was an incredible pleasure for Mark and Adam and I to commentate it, an incredible pleasure for people to watch it. And it had to be a lot of fun for you as well, especially since you came out on top.
Yeah, that's the best part. And the coolest part is I won on a John Wayne. That's by far the best part.
Yeah.
It will go down in history as a world championship shot, no matter what anyone says.
That's awesome.
So, Adam, did you have any other questions you want to ask Ryan before we wrap this up?
Well, I don't know. I was just curious, Ryan. But before your was it the singles finals match that Open? I don't know what it is. I know you're a family man now, and you got a couple kids. I've got a kid myself, and it really kind of changes you. But I'm just curious. I know that your son had a little bit of an accident or fall in the bleachers or something before one of your finals matches. And of course, he was okay. It was like a mouth injury or what, and those always look worse than they really are, kind of a thing. But like you're talking about playing foosball again at this level that none of us have really ever been at ever, and then you have this family event happen. Like, how do you steel yourself? Like, how do you come back from that?
Yeah.
Hey, he's asking, do you love your son more than you love foosball?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what happened. So my niece and my nieces, both of them, they took my, I think at the time he was 21-month-old kid into the bleachers at the tournament. Which A, when he sees me, he's going to be screaming for me, going "Dad, Dad" in the middle of the match. How good is that going to be? And B, he's a baby or toddler in the bleachers. I mean, that's scary.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I had no clue what was happening. I heard thump, thump, and I looked back and I saw, my niece's face looked like she saw a ghost. And I was like, and then I heard him cry, and I was like, you've got to be shitting me. So yeah, obviously I ran over there. I saw him, he's all, his bottom of his chin's all cut up. He's bleeding out of his mouth quite heavily, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't see any teeth missing or nothing. So yeah, I was definitely shook. My sister came and helped right away, and they got blood. And then I had to let him go. The kid's like, I'm holding him, and the kid's screaming and crying, and here I am. I have to let him go, and he's like looking at me, screaming, holding his arms out. I was like, I was like borderline. I wasn't borderline. I had tears in my eye. Like, Jesus Christ, this sucks.
Yeah.
I have to leave my kid, and but what am I going to do? Like, stall out the entire finals match? They were ready to play, and my sister obviously had him in hands. And then I told Yvette, she was in the bleachers. She didn't even see what happened, and she went to the room just to make sure he was okay. And yeah, so I was funny because Jim will relate. I don't remember what I was shook. I was really shook mentally, and I was just like, come on, figure out how to get out of this. And then Jim, I don't remember what you said to me, but you said something before the match in a jokingly way, and I said something very nasty back to you in a jokingly way, but it shook my mind to where it made me at least like laugh, and it allowed me to go, okay, come on, he's gonna be fine, get back in it. So
well, I came at you from the perspective of a father as well, and what you were having to go through there, and you took it well, and you did come back at me a little bit, but I thought it worked out well for both of us. So
what did you say?
It doesn't matter what I said. It was nasty and maybe a little rude, but
I did not take it as either, though. I did not take. I took it as totally in stride. So
talk about inside Foos.
Yeah, right. See, I knew we'd get to the family aspect tonight. I knew we'd do that.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, exactly. But no, hey, Ryan, this time has flown by. We're right up against a deadline here. We need to sign off. But man, it's a lot of fun. This is the second time we've had you, and both times have been so insightful, so interesting to see inside the mind of one of the great players who has ever played the game, and a guy still on top of his game, especially after that performance in Dallas, or in Lexington. So thank you so much again for joining us here tonight.
Yeah, no, thank you all. And yeah, I thought I was retired, but I guess I'm not now. So.
Guess not. Guess not. Well, Ryan, thank you. I mean, we're so grateful for you taking the time, and of course, you've got a very busy life. But we're looking forward to speaking to you again, and especially about some ideas as to how do we make this whole thing work out with a nice forum, and we'll put that together and let you know.
Yeah,
all right.
great work, buddy.
We'll see you at Colorado State, man.
There you go.
Over there.
Are you going to Colorado State?
I actually plan on it. Yes,
Wow.
I hooked up with. I'm not going to Louisiana or Michigan or anywhere else, but I have obviously my company in Colorado still, so I'm kind of making it a company trip as well because I need to get out there again. Yeah, I just hooked up with Terry Rue, so me and Rue are going to do it.
Cool.
And,
Nice.
Oh boy!
Wow.
Awesome.
Are you playing nets?
I am playing nets. Yeah.
Oh boy!
So yeah, that'll be fun, and I think me and him are going to be pretty fired up and having some fun. So we'll see how that goes, and yeah, I mean it'll be a little bit more difficult because I won't have my family there to watch our kids, but we'll make do.
Sure. Wow, that's cool.
Awesome.
Well, good luck.
That's super.
Thanks again, Ryan, so much for being on FoosTalk Live. It's an absolute honor having you on, and we're looking forward to our next conversation. Guys, you've been listening to FoosTalk Live. We want to make mention that Shooting the Shot is coming up again on Tuesday at 5 o'clock as a download on foosballradio.com. Here's a quick preview of what you're going to be hearing.
Inside Foos and FoosTalk Live proudly present Shooting the Shot with Clay Toomey. Tuesdays.
All right. Well, I'm Adam Gilson. I've been playing foosball for about all my life, really, because my folks, they're involved with tournament soccer back in the 70s. My dad, Terry Gilson, my mom, Rosario Gilson, were involved with Lee Peppard doing that, so I'm second generation. And I started touring in 99 and kind of reached my height in 2005, and then got out of it in 2006 or 7 because of mental, emotional issues, health issues, and stuff like that. And recently got back into it again because, I was really firmly believing in what Inside Foos was doing. Always been a big fan of Jim Stevens. Yeah. And Mark Torres has always been a good friend of mine, even though long periods of time have gone that we've chatted, Mark and I. But he's always just been there for me. Yeah. We both were like, I would call it an aimless party boys in our 20s and 30s and stuff. But I was like, this is the guy that if I'm going to talk to, because he had got married by that point.
We can talk foosball, by the way. We can talk about any damn thing you want to talk about.
Let me say two things. For one thing, I deeply respect the stuff you do here. I love how you talk to people. And you know this. I've told you this. But I just want everybody else to know you are so good.
Shooting the Shot with Clay Toomey. This Tuesday with Adam Gilson. Find it on Podbean or foosballradio.com. FoosTalk Live is a product of Inside Foos. All rights reserved. Brought to you in part by InsideFoos.com, Protectoflex, Rodlock, 518 Prince, Foosballers the Movie, the USTSO, and Foosball Clubs USA. Tune in again next week for another episode of FoosTalk Live. In the meantime,
we'll see you foozin'.